Hey everyone, this is Pat Mesiti here, and today I have not only a great friend but an incredible business mind, Mr. John McGrath, company floated on the stock exchange, legend in business. John, thanks for being on here today.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to see you, even if it's a virtual environment. It's great to see you again and have a chance to have a chat to some of your wonderful members.
John, you get better looking with age. I want to know what pills you're taking. What are they, brother? I seem to get more wrinkly in lockdown.
Those filters that you put on, I've got about 6 on at the moment.
John, you've had an amazing career. For those of you that don't know, John, one of the most influential people in real estate and business in Australia, really is an icon. John, how did you get started?
So, Pat, I was fortunately, I was good at something when I was young, which was sport. And as a teenager, that was the kind of thing that really was my whole life. And I was destined to be a professional footballer. I was playing, several grades and years above myself. So the career looked like it had great traction. I had an injury at 18, had a collapsed lung. It happened twice. And so I then had to rethink my whole career because my entire, 5-6 years of being a teenager were focused on being a sports person. So then, it's funny because there's an old cliche: it doesn't matter what happens to you in life; it's what you do with it. And it shouldn't be a cliche because it's incredibly wise, I think, guidance for someone. So I just said, "What the hell am I going to do now?" I'd failed my HSC. I got a terrible mark because I never thought I'd need it. I then was left without a career in sport, and I went to a careers advisory centre and I said, "Can you give me some help? What are the options for someone that didn't do well at school?" And they went through and I picked out real estate and I'm at 18 at this stage. And I thought, okay, well, that could be interesting. And I asked a lot of people what they thought about real estate, and most of them were cynical, which I thought was the opportunity, not the challenge. And they said, well, real estate, they're not renowned for telling the truth. They're not really highly esteemed in the community. And I thought, well, that's a chance, that's an opportunity. So I headed in that direction, and that was 18. I'm now 56, so that was 38 years ago, and I've just turned up every day trying to do it a little bit better. And it's a bit like someone says, admire how you've grown, but you don't see it because you just turn up every day and you grow a micromillimeter. And I guess in real estate, I just had this mantra that every day I wanted to do it a little bit better than the day before, and I wanted to help my team deliver a bit more value. And I was always interested in innovation and maybe doing it differently and clearly doing it better if possible. And I think if you're passionate about something and you do it long enough with that kind of wanting to do it better. I remember it was, I've forgotten his name, he's a famous film producer and director. I'll remember it, it's John someone. And he talked about every scene that he directed had to be better than the last scene. And it was always getting better and better and better. And I only heard that about 5 years ago, so I'd kind of been applying a similar principle to my life. And I think it's just, sometimes you just got to stand the test of time and just keep getting better.
Yeah. Now, John, on a personal level, now this question won't affect our friendship at all, but what team were you trialing for to play professional? I somehow have a feeling that it could be my enemy team, but just who are you going?
Supporting the Rabbitohs because I grew up in sort of Bexley, which is kind of fringe of St George and Rabbitoh territory. And I still go for the Rabbitohs, but I was playing for the Roosters for a
well, there you go. That's enough said. Stop right there. The interview's almost over. When you said Rabbitohs, I thought, yeah, okay, he's it. But we can cope with that. But when you said Eastern Suburbs, let's just stop the interview right there. I think God saves you. John, you're very innovative. Most people go, wow, John McGrath, so innovative. You're ahead of most guys in the industry in real estate. My question to you isn't about real estate so much. It's how do you think? Because you've got that innovative mind. You've never done the typical real estate. So I'm not in business. How do you approach business from your mindset?
So great question. Two things. I actually, and I'm not being unreasonably modest. I actually don't think I'm that innovative. What I think I'm really good at is I have a 24/7 radar. Wherever I go, whatever I do, whatever I read, whatever I experience, I have this little voice that's saying, how could I adopt that into our company and our industry? So whether I go to a cafe or a restaurant or if I'm flying on a plane, or if I go to a great hotel, any service experience that I think, wow, that's good, or any technological observation. So I'm great at, and I don't use the word stealing because I think it's all there to be seen. And the question is, do you see it, and then can you bring it back into your world? So I do have that kind of thing of whenever it's just immediate default reaction is how could we use that in the world of real estate? So I might see a health app. This is a health app, and you can download it on your phone. It does this and it does that, and I think, well, their agents use that to track their performance in the business world, not the health world. So I think I'm good at that. The other thing I think I don't know if this is an asset or a liability, but I see the problems and the faults very clearly. I think it can be both, by the way, because I do see improvement in everything, but I have to be careful that I have to also acknowledge progress and think, because it's very easy to become a constant critic, challenging for looking for kind of some unattainable perfection. So I've always got to keep reminding myself, Pat, that it's about progress and improvement. It's not about perfection, because that doesn't really ever exist.
John, you were your real estate career is illustrious, to say the least. I mean, literally, one of the figures I read was over 800, probably more than that, under 870 million in sales, and they're big numbers for a lot of people. But you were also one of the investors in Shark Tank. Now, a lot of people out there right now, COVID-19 hit them, caught them by surprise. I'll get onto that, how you've transitioned your business with online and what we can do with people. But what were you looking for? Because people out there go, oh, it's just an idea. It may not work. I'm not too sure. I don't have business plans and blah, blah, blah. What do you say to people that say, I'm a mum and dad operation, just been hit with COVID-19. What do I do? What can I do with this business that I've got right now?
So as an investor at Shark Tank and as an investor outside of Shark Tank for anything else I look at, if it's a business, not an asset, not a commodity like a piece of real estate or a share, if it's a business, I'm looking for, does this individual standing in front of me excite me? Do I think they can actually carry on? Because good ideas are not that hard to find, Pat. You know that. You can go and just put good ideas into Google, there'll be 17 million. The question is the execution on a consistent basis when challenges hit, because there's no business in existence or individual leader that hasn't had a plethora of challenges. So it's not about whether challenges will hit and whether you'll hit a brick wall sometimes, and whether you'll a budget, or whether COVID comes along, or GFC or tech wreck or whatever. It's a matter of when the next one comes along, how will you respond? And we'll talk about COVID in a minute. But so I'm looking for an individual. If I'm hiring a salesperson, I'm thinking, will I list my property with this person? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel I can believe what they're saying? And I trust my intuition a lot. Some would probably say far too much, because I think there are people that are far more successful than me that do rely a lot on data, and they have algorithms going through it. And I think the answer is both is important. But when I'm sitting in front of someone, I kind of feel that I've got thousands of years of wisdom passed through my DNA that I can trust. And if this person feels credible, authentic, passionate, and resilient, because it's easy to be passionate at a job interview or at a pitch. It's not that hard. The question is, when the proverbial hits the fan, are you going to be there and you're going to deal with those hard times? And can you lie in bed at night staring at the ceiling and come up with solutions or try and get some rest? Versus do you go to pieces? Because so many people go to pieces when things don't go their way. So I think it's a combination of, yes, I like to kind of look at the numbers. Yes, I like to understand the plan. If the plan's complex, I'm not interested. If I don't understand it within 3 minutes, either through explanation or getting a one-page brief, I'm not interested. If the person doesn't excite me and give me a confidence that they'll be resilient when the tough times come, I'm not interested. And when people like that do come forward, it's fairly rare. It shouldn't be, by the way. It's fairly rare. So I say to people, there's only one of two reasons that you don't really get everything that you want. One is you haven't become the person that deserves it, and that shouldn't sound hypercritical. It's just about, if you're a person that's mean-spirited, negative, cynical, not good at connecting with people, you've got a bad mindset, you're in terrible physical shape, any of those things, to be quite frank, they're going to be blockages to success. You've got to become the person first that you need to become. Then secondly, you need to have a plan and execute the plan on a daily basis, or simply put, do the things you need to do on a daily basis. So if someone came to me and I want to get into real estate, I'd say, well, you need to have integrity, you need to have energy, you need to be good at pitching a story to someone, you need to be a brilliant listener, you need to have some skills around negotiation, etc. I could give you 10 things that you need to be, and then I could say, here's what you do at 8 a.m. on Monday morning when you start. You bring these.
Yeah.
Most people don't do it though, Pat. You've seen that. Most people don't do it, or they do it for a week, and then it gets a bit inconvenient and a bit hard, and all of a sudden, then they start sort of, fluffing off doing other stuff, getting distracted on social media or other external events. So, I think it's they're the two key things.
John, we last month did a thing. I was telling you off camera before, a 30K 30-day challenge, and we talked for 30 days because I was hit my events down to Google. It's all finished. Not all finished, but you couldn't do events. Trying to keep it alive just wasn't going to work with all the restrictions. So straight away, my mindset went into, when I hit a wall, I go into, having hit walls a few times in my life, straight into that, hustle, get an idea. So we launched this thing called 30K in 30 days. And the idea was people would be trained on online, how to build an online business through webinars and seminars. And because of all the lockdown, you can still make great money. Long story short, we taught for about 20 days. Then we asked people to submit their business ideas. We had over 250 applications. We chose 2 in the end. The people voted. A gentleman with an Airbnb idea, another lady called Elspeth Hughes, single mum. 2-3 weeks ago, a sound engineer crying on the floor, wondering how she's going to pay rent, but a little idea on e-commerce. Well, John, in 90 minutes, we promoted her business online. She generated 128,000 in sales. Never done it before. And the reason I'm saying that, is when it's the worst of times, it could be the best of times. Now, you and I have all had challenges in business and life. What do you do when the proverbial hits the fan? What does John McGrath do up here? How does he get into his lane and say, right, we're regrouping, especially now? What do you do?
Let's just use, because the most obvious and topical and current one is COVID. So a couple of things. You have to focus on the opportunity, not the challenge, which sounds glib and obvious. But right now, with the media hype and the noise and everyone that you've bumped into or socially distance yourself from who wants to talk about COVID, it's easy to get caught into there's nothing else to talk about or think about right now than COVID. I think Matty Steinway that you would know, Pat, or know of, and Matty's one of our top agents. And I said to him, Matt, how are you dealing with this? He said, JM, I'm just acting like nothing's changed. He said, yes, I'm doing social distancing. Yes, I'm doing the hygiene stuff, of course. But he said, I'm just ringing up clients and I'm figuring out. And sometimes I say, look, Matt, thanks for calling me, but we're not going to buy anything till after COVID. He said, no problem at all. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And he put them on a column that said, call after COVID. But then it was a smaller list, but a very exclusive and important list. The people said, hey, no, I'm ready to keep buying, Matt. The numbers for us were 33% of the buyers that were in the market that said pre-COVID they wanted to buy now. 33% of them still wanted to buy in the midst of COVID. So that means, of course, 66% said we want to wait until things are over in case we lose our job. Totally respect, understand, and support that. But rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you just got to go to the 33%. Then you went to the same to your vendors for us in real estate and whatever industry you're in, you just do the same. We went to our vendors and we said, hey, obviously, a bit of noise out there. Clearly that, there's some stuff that's happening that'll probably pass in the next few months. Are you still keen for us to find a buyer, or would you rather wait? And about 60% said, no, we'd like to sell now. And 40% said, well, wait.
Awesome.
So we took 33% of buyers, Pat, and the 60% of sellers that both wanted, we merged them together, and we had only I won't say minimal, it's been a 40% decline, but I thought it could have been an 80% decline in sales, 40%. So number one is you have to see it and change your narrative that this is not a disaster, this is not chaos, this is whatever. It's very unfortunate that anyone's lost a life. I'm not being disrespectful to that, but for you as a business person, if you see this as an opportunity, and there's no doubt that many great wealth fortunes of families and businesses have been made during tough times of depression and GFC. So I think this is the best time. My view is my mantra, this is the best time to buy market share right now. 3/4 of the market's asleep, they're in a cave, they're shivering, they don't want to get out from bed in the morning. You get out, you do your exercise, you get out there, you get on the phone, you are going to be the one person that the community in the market wants to go to. So that's number one. Number two is extreme ownership. extreme ownership. So extreme ownership refers to the fact that if you're serious about what you're doing, there is nothing, no one, no event, no thing in the world that should be able to stop you from achieving it if you take extreme ownership. Now, of course, you want to exercise, you go buy a pair of running shoes, the weather's terrible, it starts pouring. The person that's not committed uses it as an excuse and they stay in bed. The other person goes and buys some wet weather gear and they get out irrespective. In fact, I saw someone the other day, Pat, on YouTube, was marathon on his balcony. He had a 6-metre balcony and he committed to running a 26-mile marathon, which I think
I saw that.
Incredible. So, I mean, for
That's
me,
amazing.
that is the manifestation of extreme ownership.
Yeah.
This guy was training for a marathon. Someone else said, no, you can't leave your apartment because COVID's hit. 99.9% of people, Pat, would have said, oh, well, okay, that's a good excuse.
Correct.
I'll wait till it's over. He starts doing 42,000 laps of his 6-metre balcony. So if you control the controllables, if you relabel what you think might be tragedy, chaos, disaster into an opportunity and at worst an inconvenience, and so for restaurants, sure, some of them won't be able to reinvent in time and they have to sit it out. So sit it out, reinvent your menu, retrain your staff, do whatever else you have to do, take on a course, do some online courses for cooking and customer service. So when you reopen, you've got twice the business you would have had anyway.
Correct.
You've got to use time available because this time in many parts of the world is almost over. And a lot of people are going to emerge from it no better than they were before. And that's a shame because I think we've had a few weeks. We've probably got another couple of weeks to go to redesign yourself. So I think extreme ownership, redesign, relabel what it is, focus on what you can control, forget what you can't control. The outer market things are irrelevant to your success. Irrelevant, in my opinion.
John, you've transitioned a fair bit. I know you've always been a guy that loves online. You've been ahead of the curve. Right now, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you've transitioned a lot of business online. I'm an average mum and dad. I've got an idea. I want to start something. I'm thinking online. What would you say, Mum, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Betty Bankstown, wherever they are, Gold Coast, there's a global reach right now, How important is it to get the online aspect of your business or potential business up to scratch?
Well, it really, and online, obviously, Pat, nowadays is social as well as digital. So it's the internet and it's social media now. Social media is fast becoming as powerful a tool and a connection. So I think any business now that doesn't have an extraordinary online presence and social media strategy is going to struggle. But having said that, it needs to be a great idea or a great product, a great service to start with. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to throw it online. It's not that good, but if I throw it online and I punch it through social media, I'll be successful, because at the end of the social media is another human being that wants to investigate, react, and then ultimately participate in your product or service. So the old-fashioned, let's just get the product or service right, and then let's have extraordinary focus on digital and social, because that's the way it is. I say to my team right now, if we don't win social and win digital, we can't win the real estate before. The old-fashioned thing, vendors now, probably like, for a lot of your listeners, they're general customers, vendors that they're checking us out online probably 3 to 6 months before they reach out, and they may not reach out if they don't know what they see. So you have to make sure your own social media, if you have a personal social media profile, Pat, I'm amazed at what some people put on their social media profile. It's just, extraordinary that they don't think that people that are going to do business with them don't look at that. So I think, you have a strong social media presence, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're focused on now. And beneath that, you've got to have a great product and a great service. You bring the two of them together, the brilliant outcome and the digital presence platform, you're going to be unstoppable. And this is a nice thing, when so many people can come from nothing right now. A friend of mine, Mitch Harper, a guy from Sydney, Barrington, he started a business that's now worth $1 billion. Mitch had no particular training. He started a business. It's a little bit like Shopify. It basically allows small business, so it's called BigCommerce, small business owners to start their own websites and create, shopping carts and so forth cost effectively. It's a $1 billion business. He started that virtually from nothing, he and his business partner. So there are stories upon stories upon stories of people that started with nothing, and you said Elspeth before, that's the beginning, that's a great event, but, what are you going to do to leverage that? I mean, because, 128,000 is a wonderful short-term sales result, but, can you do it next week? Well, you can, but what are you going to do to achieve that? So it's about sustainability of these good ideas, I think, going forward. It's critical, but, it's all about digital.
Yeah. John, you're a big believer in training, and I've watched, I think, and our great mutual friend Tom Panos, he's just one of the gold the guy just oozes. I think I've ripped off more of his quotes than anyone else.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. How important? So I want to do my business. I want to get my social media right. I want to get my online right. How important? And I know what you've done with your team, how important is training and mentorship to get it right? Because it can cost you a lot, can't it, if you get it wrong?
Yeah, well, one of my favourite sayings, talking about quotes, that is, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And I think right now you can self-serve so many different ways. Some will cost you a bit of money and investment, probably well worth it. Some you can get for free, YouTube and podcasts and so forth. Some are going to be experiential. So for me, training, and let's call it training, development, mentoring, insights, observations, conversations, these things, they're all layers. So, I think it was Les Brown or someone said years ago, learning is like, taking a shower, just once in your life and then think it's done. You got to do it every day, twice a day for the rest of your life. And I believe in that. So getting in front of people like yourself, people like Tom Panos, going to YouTube, watching TED events. There's other things like Masterclass out there at the moment that they're a bit more expensive, still probably worth it. So I think you've got to immerse yourself daily, not occasionally, not weekly, daily, in some form of information. Now, if you subscribe to a few things, and if you're a part of some events and groups like yours, Pat, or Tom's, you're probably getting fed regular stuff, but you have to do it every single day. So I try and multitask in terms of when I go for a walk on a treadmill or around the waterfront in the mornings, I like to have the podcast in, so I get an hour's exercise and I get an hour's mental exercise, because they're both just as important, the physicality and the mental. And then it's easy. People say, I haven't got time. Well, guess what? Most people spend an hour a day in their car to and from work, and they listen to 2UE or 2GB in Australia, perhaps, and they should be listening to Pat Mesiti or Tom Panos or some other great podcast. So there is no excuse. Again, extreme ownership says if you have zero money, you can educate yourself as good as a Harvard business degree. If you have a little bit of money, you can even take yourself to the next level. But you've got to do it. You've got to take extreme ownership. You can't say, well, I don't have time in my day. We all have time in our day. You need half an hour a day. Could be 15 minutes. I also listen in the shower. I had a little thing put up on the shower wall, Pat, which was designed for something else. I can't remember what it was designed for, but it worked beautifully with the iPhone. I just put it on. I put a podcast on, and I just listen to stuff while I'm in the shower. There's like 15 minutes while you're in the bathroom getting ready in the morning. Yeah. You just got to get rid of your excuses. You've got to realise that personal development, personal growth, learning and education is not only interesting and important, it's vital. It's like the lifeblood of your future. And you just got to get out and make it happen.
John, I know you're pressed for time, but I'm so grateful you've given us this time. I know you're a really busy guy, and I've so valued our friendship over the years. You've been a great friend, good seasons and bad, and I'm very, very, I'm very blessed to have you in my life, and also just you met my kids and stuff. But last question, because I know I'm looking at the clock. I've got 5 minutes with John McGrath, so I'm going to squeeze everything I can. And it's a strange question. What would 56-year-old John McGrath tell 20-year-old John McGrath? Wait, but what's 56 John McGrath going to say to 80-year-old John McGrath? What would you say?
Well, the first one, is probably an easier answer because I'm out there and I'm not at the 80 yet. But I think, what would I be telling someone else that's a 20-year-old going through life experience? I think that even your hardest times you get through. sometimes people tend to give up, and it could be a breakup, it could be a business hits the wall, it could be any number of things, a bad investment, that you get through. Well, most people do get through, the vast majority get through. So understand that there's no way you can achieve big things, big success, without taking some level of risk. And when you take a level of risk, there's always a chance that not everything's going to work. Not just a chance, it's guaranteed not everything's going to work. In real estate, you want to be a great agent, you need to knock on 1,000 doors, 999 are going to say no, but you've got to find the one that says yes. So in business, you're going to have some ideas, you're going to trial them, you're going to employ people, some people work out, some won't. So I think a key thing is, don't let the spectre of failure and things not going the way you wanted to stop you doing it, because the old saying, if you wait until every light is green, you'll never leave your driveway in the morning, and that's the truth. So you have to kind of progress. You hit a little bit of a speed bump, you might even hit a wall, you might even go over a ditch, then you progress and go forward. So I think that's important. Second thing is, and I always probably felt that I did think big, but I think I didn't think in the early stages big enough. So I would encourage everyone to stretch themselves to the greatest set of thoughts and outcomes and dreams you have for your life, if possible, that are possible for you to conceive. I would go as hard, because life's short, and you blink, Pat, like you and I, you get in your 50s and you think, okay, I'm still relatively young, but I'm not as young as I was when I was 25, 30. So when you're younger, I just go really hard and challenge myself, stretch myself, because at some point you do start realizing that you're mortal and there will be a use by date. And if you have this sense of urgency when you're young, you're never going to regret. Dr. Fred, one of my great life coaches, as you know, and we did a masterclass with Fred yesterday. We had 25 of our guys on, and we had 90 minutes with Dr. Fred, and he was just talking through all of his philosophies, and Fred is 85, and he's saying, man, I got to tell you, just like blinked, it goes like that. A minute ago I was 50, and now I'm 85, and he's planning to live to well over 100, and I believe he will, and he's getting himself geared up, and he's getting his health fit. So, but it's about stretching yourself early on when you can, because it does go faster than you think. And as Dr. said, his goal in life is when he draws his last breath, there are zero regrets. He doesn't want to have regret that he wished he'd have done that, he'd have climbed that mountain, he'd have told that person he loved them, he'd have helped that other person, he'd have tried that thing and failed. He said, I want no regrets. And I think that's a nice, no regret policy is a kind of a nice way to live life. Just go for everything and see how it works.
John, it's always a pleasure. We'll have to ask the 80-year-old one a bit later.
Pat, look, I've enjoyed our friendship as much as you. I know it's not over. I know it's just beginning. And please send my love to your family. You've got a wonderful group of immediate and extended family, and Nathan and the team. And it's always a great pleasure to appear with any of your team. I look forward to doing it live once we're out of this situation.
We're going to go live. We're going to take it. We're going to take it to the streets. But John, thanks so much, my great friend. Enjoy your day. God bless you. Thanks so much. Hey, everyone. The legendary John McGrath. That was like listening to Biblical Solomon speak. I hope you took notes. I hope you go over this. I hope you re-engage with this. Look, I think what he said there was gold, and not to give up, and that relentlessness and that passion. You see, and not to minimize your ideas. Don't discount yourself. Don't disqualify who and what you are. The smallest of ideas, the seedlings, the seed of an idea can build into an empire, just like John has done, and just like many of us has done. So that was a wonderful interview. Replay it. Take the notes. It's gold. It's literally gold. Not easy to get John McGrath, but you know what? When you got friendship there and when you got connection there over the years, you can draw from the wells that you've dug. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. It's been a fantastic interview. Hey, communicate with us. Let us know. Stay tuned for what's coming up next. It's going to be awesome.